On Friday, November 15th, Netflix and Most Valuable Promotions bring you the highly anticipated heavyweight boxing mega event of the year. Jake El Gallo Paul will go toe-to-toe in the ring against Iron Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. Don't miss this epic showdown from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Watch Paul versus Tyson, now streaming only on Netflix.
What up, y'all? It's Joe Budden, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. You can get up to 100 times your money.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be. To be.
Philadelphia Eagles make it 6 straight wins, improving to 8-2, and they now have a commanding 1.5 game lead over the Washington Commanders. I know you guys saw what I did there. Welcome into the post-game show. I am your guest host tonight. Shane Haff, give me a follow on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. Dibes is out tonight because he's an old man that needs his beauty sleep. But Rob is here with us. Right. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly_Madness. Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. That was that's a tremendous win right there. It's an old school NFC East game, right? Not a lot of scoring early. Defense has stepped up, but then, the Eagles never gave up on that run game tonight, even when it wasn't going well. And you could just tell Washington wore down as the game went on. And lo and behold, Saquon breaks 2 for touchdowns, and we're on top of the NFC East. And like it's funny to say a 1.5 game lead's commanding, but it really is when you think about it. So great win for the Birds tonight.
Yeah. Also joined by David. Give him a follow on Twitter at PHL Eagle News. David, how are you feeling tonight?
Doing great, man. I agree with everything Rob said there. It was really close game. In the fourth quarter, Dan Quinn decided to go for it on 4th down as opposed to kicking a field goal there to take a 1-point lead. And with that decision, he kind of out Sirianni there, and kind of made a bad decision, and everything snowballed from there. And then Saquon runs 2 touchdowns in less than 30 seconds or something like that in football, like 4:50 and 4:30 or something left in the game. So things got out of hand quick after that poor decision there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those not all aggression is a good decision things, because you definitely should be kicking the field goal there. We're going to break it all down. If you guys are new to the show, head over to Twitter at Eagles Pin Poll. We tweeted out our 3-word reaction posts. Make sure you drop those, and we're going to get to it later in the show. But guys, this game really couldn't have started worse for the Eagles. I tweeted at one point when the Eagles got the ball on their 3rd possession, hey, it's offense. It's not the first quarter anymore. We can play football now. But, I guess we kind of need to start with Jake Elliott, because we probably feel differently about this game, even at halftime, if Jake Elliott's not missing kicks left and right. I mean, as frustrating as the first half was, you're still up 9-7 at halftime without the Jake Elliott miss. He ends up costing you 7 total points on the game. He almost missed another extra point. I don't know what's going on with Jake Elliott. I found myself thinking that about Jalen Hurts at times in the first quarter too. It's weird sequencing, weird games. But I guess let's dive into it. Let's talk about the offense first. It was a rough start to the game. I know Jalen Hurts took a couple of big shots. I was wondering if, he had been evaluated for a concussion, and they ended up pulling him to do that right before halftime. He cleared that. He did play a lot better in the second half. David, what were your thoughts on Jalen Hurts in the first half, and what do you think got him settled in over the course of the game?
Yeah, it seems like that's been his MO this whole season, is he's kind of struggled, as the whole team has. I mean, they've only put up points in the first quarter once or twice the whole season. I guess they did it against Dallas. He was ineffective for most of the first half, and I know the play you're talking about. It was that little razzle-dazzle play that should have never been called, and he just gets slammed down. His head bounces off the turf. I mean, if he was going to have a concussion, that was the play. But he kept running. He kept going. He ended the first half, sacked twice. I think he was 10 of 19 for 101 yards. But that is the story going forward, that the Eagles are the only thing that are holding themselves back. I don't know what the slow starts from. I mean, some of it's play calling. At the very beginning of the game, A.J. Brown, they put him in motion, reception. They put him on a slant, reception. And then you don't see it again. And I have no idea, what the thought process is there, because it's one of the few times that they don't start the games with long verticals. They actually were using motion. They were taking, the slant. So I don't know. I think it's a combination of getting Hurts in a rhythm. He likes apparently playing from behind. I don't know, but whatever happens at halftime, he always comes out and he always seems to just be a different guy after that. So I don't know what they need to do, but they definitely need to do something, because that kind of recipe will spell disaster later in the season if they don't start scoring early.
Today was a game with Jalen where I don't know if I could put it on the play calling, because 5 or 6 times in that first half, there were wide open receivers, and many of those times they were over the middle. And we've talked about this now all season. When they go over the middle, good things happen. But, he missed Devontae Smith on that first third down. He had him, didn't throw it. He missed Devontae later in the first half. He missed Dallas Goedert wide open coming out of the back, or, on a little quick out down on 3rd and goal. I mean, there were just the time and time again, it's like he tunnel visions in on one. And if that's not there, he starts to scramble before even trying to go through his progression. But look, I think this team knows their remedy to win, how they're going to win, is running the football. And they did not go away from it tonight. And that was the key thing, because it wasn't working early, but they never went away. They kept pushing, kept grinding, kept pushing. And you could tell Washington was wearing down. And in that fourth quarter, they had nothing left on that defensive line. They gave everything they had in the first 3 quarters. So it's good all the way around, I think, with that. Jalen's a little concerning, but as Dave said, second half, he does what he needs to do to win. He doesn't have that unnecessary turnover, so at the end of the day, hey, the Birds are 8-2.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts in the first half, 10 of 19 for 101 yards. In the second half, he goes 8 for 9 for 120 yards. So big turnaround for Hurts. He also scrambled 5 times for 13 yards and a touchdown in the second half. So the second half turnaround was real. Let's go to some comments here before we go too much further. Dibes always handles the comments, and I can't handle the comments. I can't handle handling post-game shows. Dibes, I need you back next week, okay? But we'll go to a few here. Brett Eclipse chiming in on YouTube says, this defense is legit. We're going to get to them. Anthony says, great win. What a gutting performance by Jalen Hurts. Brett Eclipse says, Calcaterra saved the game.
What a play.
That play is going to be shown in high school locker rooms all over the country, why you hustle to the ball every single time. We've got a Eagles O-line just wears on people. John says that was a playoff caliber win against a team trying to prove itself. AP says Jalen Carter and the Eagles back 7 is going to win them a Super Bowl. Marshawn says that Goddard was inches away from being sent to China. He also says David's got the Dan Quinn backwards hat look going. He's rocking that tonight.
Yes.
We've also got if we convinced the Eagles every quarter was the fourth quarter, we'd be like the 07 Patriots. And then we got a lot of guys talking about Jake Elliott. And John said it doesn't seem mental with Jake. He's been pushing longer kicks all year. Hopefully he'll clean it up because we need him to win them all.
he missing that extra point seemed mental to me, man. He had the yips, I think, after missing the 2 field goals because he doesn't really miss extra points. And fortunately, the last one he kicked was dead center, so maybe he got them all out, and now he's going to be back to normal. But that is a frightening thing going forward. He hasn't hit a 50-yard field goal all year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to try to play kicker mechanics detective here, but hopefully you get that cleaned up. I just knew when it was 12-10 and Washington was driving down, they're going to kick a field goal and Jake Elliott's going to hit a 58-yard field goal as time expires to win the game. That's what I thought we were setting ourselves up for. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about Jalen's shaky start and the turnaround in the second half. Let's get into the run game, which was similar, right? I mean, the run game was really struggling in the first half. I don't have Saquon's splits for the first half, but first half Saquon is 15 carries for 56 yards rushing. He ends the game at 26 carries for 146 yards. So what is that? 11 carries for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half for Saquon. Yeah. And it really felt like a lot of that started with Kenny Gainwell getting back-to-back 14-yard carries. The run game just was not working, and they ran a nice little tackle trap play with Kenny Gainwell, and then the run game just took off. Rob, thoughts on the run game and the offensive line just finally wearing down the Commanders and Saquon breaking through?
I think you said it correct there. I think when you saw Kenny Gainwell in the back-to-back runs, you noticed the holes were getting a little more open. I will say, and I think they noticed it because Saquon's second touchdown was this. Running to the outside, they were much better than running in the middle early in that game. They were averaging closer to 4 yards a carry on the outside, and they started going to that a little bit later as well. I just think, listen, this is where I'm going to give Kellen Moore and the coaches credit because in the past, we've watched the Philadelphia Eagles give up on the run when it's not working. They did not do that tonight. They kept going to it. They knew that they needed to find something there. And it paid dividends because I think Frankie Louvu and Deron Payne and all those guys on that defensive line who played stout, they got gassed. If you think about it, I mean, even when the Eagles were losing, they were outgaining Washington almost 2-1. They were on the field much more than Washington's offense. They were just missing field goals at the end of drives, and it was changing the score. But they were dictating the play. So Washington ran out of gas, and you got to give the Eagles credit on offense for being able to stick to their guns, do what they do best, and eventually it leads to a couple breakout runs. And, I know it may not seem very comfortable after that 2-point conversion, but it was still a comfortable victory there, basically, in the end of that game.
Yeah, I mean, you were firing on all cylinders except for the penalties, the missed field goals. I mean, the Eagles end up with 434 yards of offense, and the Commanders, prior to that final drive, were under 200 yards. I put out on Twitter that prior to the garbage time drive that Jaden Daniels completed twice as many passes to Commanders wide receivers as he did Eagles defensive backs. So at least he had that going for him. But David, your thoughts on the run game, and did Kenny Gainwell give us the spark in this one?
Yeah, I agree with that. Those back-to-back 14-yard rushes. I think what he ended with 43 yards on 4 carries, something like that. I mean, he just spelled them just for a handful of carries there, but Saquon was fresh too. He's coming off a game where he only had 14 carries in Dallas. So they utilize him a lot more than they normally do in the first half with those 15 carries. Like you mentioned, he had 56 yards, and then he only touches it 11 more times in the second half, but you get 90 yards on those, and he breaks off a 39-yard run, a 23-yard touchdown run, and also that 43-yard reception to set things up late in the third quarter as well. So, the running game, I mean, they put up 228 rushing yards. I mean, that you're going to win most games when you do that. You're controlling the clock. They had 135, I think, more running yards than Washington did, and what was the clock difference? About 7-8 minutes. They held the ball longer. So, you start churning those plays out, you control the game, and like Rob said earlier, just wore down the Washington defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go to the receivers here in a minute. Let's get to a few more comments. Cameron chiming in on the 400 plus yards of offense, holding the Commanders under 200 before the last drive. We've got Looks like a Commanders fan in the chat saying that they should have went for the field goal on 4th and 2. Bad call by Kingsbury. I agreed with that. I thought that's a situation that you need to be kicking that. Brett Eclipse says it's ironic that Ryan misses a good Kenny Gainwell day. Don't you guys worry about it. We got another comment saying that we'll have to ask him what he thought about Kenny's performance. Trust me, we will. We'll bring it all up on Birds of the Round Table, so tune into that one.
Me and Ryan are normally right in line with our thoughts about Kenny Gainwell, so it was interesting for me to have to watch him do that on 2 back-to-back carries.
And then we got Kendall saying that this Eagles team reminds me of the Super Bowl era Seahawks. Legion of Boom, Russell game managing, Marshawn going crazy. I can live with that. Yeah. I can live with that. So
just run the ball when you get down to the 1 yard line. Don't try and throw it against the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Also, like poor Saquon Barkley getting marked down at the 1 yard line yet again. Like that's got to be so devastating.
I'm so glad he got in too later.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the receivers. AJ Brown goes 5 receptions for 65 yards. Dallas Goedert had 5 for 61. The almost devastating fumble. Thanks, Grant Calcaterra. Saquon Barkley 2 for 52, including that 43-yard run on the little check down. Devontae Smith still not very involved, only 4 catches for 29 yards. And then Jahan Dotson revenge game was not to be. But the Eagles seem to really struggle to get Devontae Smith going early in these games, David. And we've seen his yardage totals be up and down. And, fortunately, I don't think he has a whole lot of diva in him where it becomes a problem. But I'd love to see the Eagles get him more involved early in games. What are your thoughts on the receivers in this game and Devontae Smith's lack of involvement?
Yeah, I agree with you about getting him involved early. It does seem that he becomes like an afterthought in some of the, and they even went to Jahan Dotson twice in the first quarter. And for a while there, I was thinking Sirianni was really going to try to make this a Dotson game just to go against his former team. And it only gives him credit for 2 targets, but I think he had 3. I think another one was overthrown. And then to get back to Devontae, he uncharacteristically dropped a pass as well. So I don't know. He has struggled to be involved in the game plan since coming back from injury. He did end up with 6 targets, which I think was second on the team only to AJ. But like you said, they weren't at the beginning of the game. It doesn't seem like they've gotten him in a rhythm. Of the 25 targets that they had today, you had a bunch of them going to AJ. He gets 8, and then you have Gainwell with 1, Barkley with 3, and it just never seemed to me in the passing game that anything was ever in a rhythm, despite Jalen ending up with 221 passing yards. It just never felt that way in the game. It just seemed kind of like nobody was ever in rhythm, except for AJ, who catches everything thrown his way and makes great plays look simple. But aside from that, it just never seemed like anything was really working in the passing game today.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, and even with AJ, I don't think Jalen was in rhythm with him, because on a couple passes, if he throws it like he normally should, AJ makes catches. One was on a 3rd down. One was at the end zone where he just threw it out of the end zone instead of trying to go back shoulder to AJ, which is a high probability that he's going to come down with the ball. I just think Jalen was a little off today. I just think he was a little bit off today. Like I said, in that first half, there was he threw the I guess it was an attempted fade to Devontae Smith in the end zone when he had nobody went with Dallas Goedert. He was wide and nobody was near him. He catches it, he walks in the end zone, misses that one. Devontae breaks out in the end zone on that one play where he ends up just pitching the ball. If he if he waits an extra, I know that there was pressure, but he could have 2 guys broke wide open on that one. There were a lot of those types of plays. Even AJ, the one time, I think Jeremy Chin fell and he just missed AJ on the throw. So he was out of rhythm, and I think that's why the passing game was out of rhythm. And that's kind of the way I think, it looked the way it did tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, the offense was just out of sorts. Even the one you mentioned at the end zone where he pitched it away with pressure. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith ran into each other. I've complimented the Eagles for how well they run mesh. They never get flagged for it, and it just always works perfectly. And then you got these guys running into each other, and generally it's one of the tight ends setting that. So I don't know if that's just not. I don't know who was supposed to be setting that pick. I'd imagine Devontae, because Jalen kind of went that. Anyways, I don't know, but everything was just a little bit off early on. And yet, the Eagles still put up 26 points despite all those missed opportunities. And I didn't think it was the best offensive line game, especially early on either. I thought there was a lot of interior pressure, a lot of things not working in the run game because of the interior offensive line. And that all just got smoothed out down the stretch. So hopefully, the Eagles get the mini bye now, get healthy and get ready for a stretch that's, going to be tough. This is a good win, and you're game and a half up on Washington now, but you still basically need to match their win total the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Just in case you lose that rematch. And the Eagles have a lot more difficult schedule than Washington does. So this was a great win. It's time to hit the ground running again in a week and a half. But any other thoughts on the offense from you guys before we switch over to the defensive side?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, well, let's get over to the defensive side, and you guys keep the comments rolling here. We'll keep going to them, but man, let's talk about the defense and these rookies and second year guys too, because Jalen Carter was a monster. I said last week that Jalen Carter might have played the best game of his career, and he might have followed it up with a new best game of his career, and he still didn't get a sack. But Jalen Carter absolutely wreaked havoc in this game. Jalen Carter he's pretty much solely responsible for the Josh Sweat sack. He was dominating in the run game. When he's playing like that, it makes your edge rusher's job so much easier. And you see Nolan Smith get a sack. You see Josh Sweat get a sack. Brandon Graham gets a sack. And a lot of that just starts with Jalen Carter's dominance in the middle. So, David, what'd you think about the trench play from the defense today?
Yeah, it was fantastic. And again, it was all predicated off of Jalen Carter. I mean, I don't know who else is playing. I don't watch enough of everybody else around the league to say that, he's the best defensive tackle in the league right now, but he's definitely one of the top 2 or 3 in the league, if not number 1. I mean, the Josh Sweat sack, like you mentioned, that was all him. He also got through and forced Jaden Daniels outside, which he was tackled for a loss on another play. Down at the goal line, much like he did with Dallas, he busts through to the backside numerous times. I mean, it's almost become expected. Everybody waited for him because he kind of lacked, I don't know what maturity or whatever it was when he first came into the league. Or some people blame it on his fitness. I don't know what you want to blame it on, but for the first 7 weeks last year, he was the most dominant rookie in the league. And then he kind of tailed off as the season ended. Well, this season, he is not tailing off after the first 7 or 8 weeks. He's only building up momentum and steam as he keeps going, and he's making everybody on that line look better and everybody on the defensive backfield as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just so happy for Nolan Smith, too.
Yeah.
Like, Nolan Smith's the guy that I liked. Obviously was a disappointing rookie season, but to see him start to play a much bigger role. And I mean, we could probably talk about Bryce Huff. I don't know what his snap counts were, but he didn't play much. But Nolan Smith has started to emerge as a guy that the Eagles trust. They trust him on early downs because he's such a good run defender. But I love seeing him, out there rushing the passer, making a play, getting a sack of Jaden Daniels. Rob, what were your thoughts on the defensive line?
Yeah, I thought they were great. I believe that, and I'll say this, that I believe Jalen Carter has become the most disruptive interior defensive lineman in the league. I mean, his stats may never show, right? Like, he didn't get a sack today, but when he wins immediately off the line, and he's in the backfield. And I'm telling you, Jaden Daniels looked off tonight, and I give a lot of that credit to Jalen Carter being there almost every time. Even on that 4th down play when he fumbled the ball, who was standing there looking at him and almost got him at the line was Jalen Carter. I mean, this guy is everything that we had hoped he was going to be. The way he moves defensive or offensive linemen off of him is incredible. Love seeing the edge rushers getting some of these sacks. I think that's big for the confidence. And as you said, Nolan Smith, love seeing that. And I mean, let's not talk about the run defense too. I mean, Washington's not a great running team, but I think before that last drive, they might have been under 100 total yards rushing again. And listen, Brian Robinson, look, and then from there, well, we'll talk about, I guess, the linebackers and secondary, but all the passes were to tight ends and running backs today. I mean, it was just an incredible performance from that defense today, outside of the one touchdown drive, really.
Yeah, we'll get into their passing distributions. Got a comment here. Quinyon took Terry McLaurin out of the game entirely. Per Next Gen Stats, Quinyon Mitchell was matched up with Terry McLaurin on 80% of his routes. On those 80% of his routes, Terry McLaurin had 0 receptions, 0 targets, 0 receiving yards. Quinyon Mitchell blanked him.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. He is so unbelievably good. And Cooper DeJean, too. Cooper DeJean had a really good game. I mean, we don't need to talk about the ticky-tack PI call on him that extended the drive. The officiating, I don't normally talk about officiating, and I was just like rage tweeting about officials all game long. But
yeah, it was bad.
The Eagles secondary, I guess I skipped the linebacker. We'll come back to the linebackers. Maybe you can't separate it all. I don't know. David, you tell me, where do you want to go next, talking about the back seven on the defense here?
I mean, Quinyon, like you said, I mean, that it was unbelievable. I mean, after the game, Terry McLaurin said something like, he's a good corner. He doesn't play like a rookie. Yeah, well, I think we all already know that. I mean, he was matched up on him. I think you said 20 of his 25 routes. He had 0 targets, 0 receptions on him. I mean, he's about as locked down as you can get. He was 19 of 20 a line wide. I was trying to read that off of Next Gen Stats. I mean, it's just been incredible what he has done. He walks onto the field and he literally shuts down half of it like this is the 90s with Deion Sanders or something. I mean, it's unfreaking real what he's been able to do as a rookie.
It's super impressive. And I mean, at one point they had showed a little highlight clip of him on Terry McLaurin, and to just kind of give you video evidence of what we already know, because they never thrown his direction. But I mean, he stayed with him every move he made, every cut he made. It was incredible. And to think that this kid is a rookie, to think that people continued to let him slide down the draft boards this year, and the Eagles did not even have to come up to get him. And then they get to go get Cooper DeJean, who, once again, might be the surest tackler in that secondary the Eagles have had in a really long time. It's so much fun to watch. And by the way, Reed Blankenship, when he intercepts a pass, he only does it one way. Every single time he intercepts a pass, it's him jumping a route after hiding and just falling to the ground with the ball in his hand. It's every time. So I just, it's a lot of fun, man, to have young guys in that secondary again. To be excited about. And I don't know if I love the years of Sheldon and Lito and all that stuff back in the day, and they were fun. Don't get me wrong. They were very good players, but I don't remember, and maybe I was too young, I don't remember them being this good right off the damn bat, like Quinyon and Cooper have been.
Yeah, they've been incredible. Reed Blankenship, it's always late in the game to seal the game, diving to the ground, skimming it off the turf. And then the whole defense goes and celebrates with him in the end zone. Like, the good vibes are back. The defense is having fun out there. Per Next Gen Stats, when not targeting players out of the backfield, Jaden Daniels was 12 of 22 for 92 yards in this game.
And I think a lot of that came to tight ends on the last drive too. He probably got 40 yards to tight ends on that drive.
They had, they had 28 receiving yards to wide receivers, 28 receiving yards. Just incredible. And Washington's always been there with Jaden Daniels. They've been to get the ball out quick, throw it underneath, and then take your vertical shots. And the vertical shots just weren't there. There weren't really opportunities for them to push the ball downfield. And I thought Vic Fangio did a fantastic job in this game. And the linebackers too. I mean, another great game for both guys. Zach Bond, 15 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass defense. Nakobe Dean, 10 tackles, 1 pass defense. He probably had the most impressive play of the game, in my opinion, when Jaden Daniels goes to scramble on 3rd and 6. And when I see him roll out and he's one-on-one with Nakobe Dean, I just said in my head, oh, that sucks. It's a first down. And not a shot at Nakobe. Jaden Daniels is just such a good runner, and Nakobe Dean was able to square him up and get him to the ground. when your linebackers can do that on a guy that can run as well as Jaden Daniels can, that's just really impressive. And so I couldn't be more impressed with this whole unit. Honestly, I can't think of a negative to say defensively. Like, in past games, they've played well, but it's been like, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson missed a couple of tackles. He blew this one coverage. It was about as perfect as it could be from a defensive standpoint, barring a couple missed tackles on Washington's initial touchdown drive. So I don't even really have anything to nitpick on the defense.
There's not much too. And, as happy, like you said, you're so happy for Nolan Smith, but that's me with Nakobe Dean. I am so happy that this guy is having this revelation this year because, when they drafted him, I remember just being so excited that they got him. And it was so like sad that he was just getting hurt constantly and he wasn't playing well. But man, you see his leadership now out on the field. You see his quickness. You see that he comes down. And like you said, that tackle on Jaden Daniels really stuck out to me early in that game. We all know the Eagles are a lot of fun to watch when their defense is rolling. And I think that's why this team is becoming fun, because tonight was a game you won with defense. Your defense kept it where it needed to be all game, and then your offense was able to score some late. And that's just that's Eagles football, man. And that's what we love here in this town.
Yeah. Let's hit a couple of comments here. First of all, Ryan, I've got to agree, says hit the like button, you bums. If you're watching here and you haven't hit that like button, hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us out. We got a comment that the defense relegated the Commanders to dinking and dunking, and there was just nothing else. We've got a Ed Reed Blankenship in the chat. And then we got a comment from Cameron asking, do you ever see Quinyon traveling with top receivers or just locking down one side because of this type of defense? David, you were shaking your head. You want to take that one?
Yeah, he locks down the left side of the defense. He does not travel. I mean, it's just not part of their defense. But yeah,
and it may not have to be.
No, and what he does do is lock down literally 50% of the field. I mean, it's unbelievable.
There's not a lot of corners in the NFL anymore that travel because the league is so much more zone-based than man-based these days. So it becomes a lot more important to be in a spot that you're familiar with, playing next to guys you're familiar with for communication. So I don't think that will happen either. I mean, maybe situationally, but I don't think that's something that you'll see very much.
Before the game, I read that McLaurin ran 77% of his routes on that same side. So they should have rethought that before the game. They should have put him on the opposite side.
Yeah. Absolutely. Where do we even go from here? Any other thoughts on the defense before we get into player of the game in 3 words?
One thought, Jalen Carter could be the reason that Brandon Graham could come back another season, to be completely honest with you. I mean, he's made him look like a youngster again. I mean, tonight he had a sack. He had 2 tackles for loss. He's only playing, 20-some snaps a week. I mean, I think his ideal scenario would be to win his second Lombardi trophy and, go out on a high note. But if for some reason they couldn't, I could totally see him coming back. I mean, he's really extended his career with the way Jalen Carter has provided the opportunities for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Brandon Graham. I just ordered a Brandon Graham. I'm not a big jersey guy. I've only got 2, but I ordered a Brandon Graham jersey for myself. So I would love to see him stick around if at all possible, as long as he can still play. But absolutely. Rob, any other thoughts on the defense?
No, I think we can move into the fun stuff of the show.
All right. Let's look at, we've got somebody hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you, Christopher, for doing so. Cameron said with the Quinyon question, he meant in his career, not necessarily this year, but he agrees.
I don't think he's going to have to, right? Like if Cooper, if they're going to end up eventually moving Coop to the outside, and maybe they won't, but I mean, you talk about those 2 guys being your corners, I feel good no matter which side of the field they're lined up on.
Yeah.
A Kia SUV is capable of taking you far. But when you use it locally to help your community, you go even further. Whether that's carrying cargo, bringing your team with you, ready, or navigating new terrain. Power up your capability with the right Kia SUV. Do more with the Kia Sportage, Kia Telluride, Kia Sorrento, or Kia Seltos. Kia, movement that inspires. Call 800-333-4KIA for details. Always drive safely.
William says, I think the craziest thing about this defense is that the thought was if they were just average, it would be a good year. And yeah, it was crazy. Like I had that moment thinking about this game. Like the offense was supposed to be incredible and the defense, we just needed to be average. And right now the defense is keeping this game afloat. So absolutely. A couple more comments and then we'll get into player of the games. This one says, for the Commanders, give credit to Mike Sanderstill. I wanted him. He was very good for Washington. I was really high on Mike Sanderstill too. David, I don't remember where you were on him, but he's turned out to be a really good player.
Yeah, I love the guy. I mean, he was literally left on an island with AJ once and Devontae once in this game, and neither one of them got a reception off of it. I mean, yeah he's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. I have one last comment here, and we'll get into player of the games, asking about if they listen to pods that they watched live. We do get ad revenue through podcasting platforms. So anytime you listen to any of our shows through podcasting platforms, it definitely helps us out. So we do appreciate that. Throw it on, whenever you are bored or doing dishes, or just throw it on when you're in a meeting and you can't actually listen to it and turn the sound down. It helps us out. But all right, let's get into our player of the games. Rob, I'll throw it to you first. Who is your Eagles player of the game in this one?
Thank you very much for throwing to me. I tell you what, there's a lot of ways you could go, but I'm going to go Jalen Carter because in my opinion, the defense started with him and his ability to disrupt Jaden Daniels, keep him. I mean, the whole defense kept him in the pocket a lot, but you could tell Jaden Daniels came up with 3 or 4 balls at guys' feet, and I don't think he's done that all year. And that was because of the pressure, that interior pressure that Jalen Carter did. It may not show up in the stat sheet, but this guy has become – look, when he got drafted, my dad had said something to me, and I was like, I don't know. But I was young, so I don't really remember. He said he hadn't seen a guy move linemen like that in Philadelphia since Jerome Brown. And damn it, if this guy is not becoming that much of a disruptor, that he could be in the conversation with guys like Jerome Brown. So Jalen Carter, man, just keep dominating in there, and the Eagles are going to win a lot of football games.
All right. Yeah, Jalen Carter, that's probably where I would have gone. But you stole it from me, so I'll have to think again. David, who do you give your player of the game to?
Well, I guess I'll take the offensive layup and go Saquon. I mean, he had 28 touches, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. There were 10,000 people at the end of the game singing "Thank You Giants" on the postgame show on Amazon Prime. I mean, I can't even imagine the pain that those people have to go through watching that. And it's a quite change of heart from. Like when I posted, this offseason when the Eagles first signed Saquon, my feed was just littered with, he's going to break his leg. He's going to get hurt. He's going to do this. He's never stays healthy. He's not going to be any good. I guess they were just trying to talk themselves into the rationale of losing such a talented player. But I'm a huge Shady McCoy fan, but I don't think I've seen anything like what Saquon Barkley has brought. This guy is generational talent, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one as well. I'm gonna go with Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell locking down Terry McLaurin. I saw Fran Duffy put out that since week 6, Quinyon Mitchell has allowed 0.5 yards per coverage snap, which ranks second in the NFL among cornerbacks. Quinyon Mitchell should run away with defensive player or defensive rookie of the year. He won't, because he doesn't have interceptions.
Yep.
And that's what matters for that award. If you're gonna beat an edge rusher, you're gonna have to have ball production, and he just doesn't have that. But you can't overstate how good that he's been. You usually see teams target the rookie and stay away from the vet. Teams are picking on Darius Slay this year. That's how good Quinyon Mitchell's been. And Darius Slay's still playing at a really high level.
Absolutely.
Darius Slay probably really likes Quinyon Mitchell being around because it gives Slay a little more opportunity for some picks. But I will go Quinyon Mitchell for my player of the game. Okay, let's roll into our 3 words. We have every week we put out on Twitter a plea for 3 words, and you guys every week give us lots of good ones on there. You can throw them into the chat here as well. I did not get my screen shared, so hold on. Here we go. So let's run through some of the favorites. Dennis gives us a please start better. I will co-sign that along with the rest of Eagles fans. It'd be nice to start games a little bit stronger there. We got Winston asking, is Jake okay? Now, see, the thing is that it's called 3 words.
Yeah.
And this one says, screw it, Zach Bond deserves more than 3 words. This dude is so good, 14 tackles and looks like the best linebacker in the league. What a crazy story. And I wouldn't have read that, but he also said, I think that's 3 words-ish. And I don't want to discriminate if there's somebody out there that's having trouble counting. I know that can be a hard skill sometimes. So I threw that one in this week. Let's not make a habit of cheating, but just in case.
Bond is great. Just leave it at that.
Yeah, we got a Bond blank check from Max.
That's great.
We got to hate Thursday games. I absolutely agree. We got a Quinyon Mitchell. Now, wait a minute. This is the same guy with the Zach Bond one, and this time we got it to 3 words. So I want everybody to rewind the tape in their head and blank that out. Counting was not the issue. I shouldn't have read that. We got a Quinyon Mitchell Island. Drew says Saquon is MVP. We got a Get Right Jake from Redbeard. And we'll go to some from our YouTube chat here in just a moment. But David, do you have a 3 words for us?
I wrote down must start faster. That's been the thing that has plagued this offense the entire year. Yet again, they didn't score in the first quarter. 2 drives ended, one uncharacteristically with the Devontae Smith drop, the other with the Mekhi Becton holding penalty. They're their own worst enemy. They're the only thing stopping them is themselves. And then you throw in the issues with Jake Elliott. He's missed 5 field goals this year, now a point after, and also he almost missed a second point after. So if there is an underlying good point of all of this is that despite them struggling, they have, out of their last 25 one-possession games, because I guess tonight goes down as 1-2 since it was 26-18. Technically, it ends with the 8-point. They're 20-5 in one-possession games. So they know how to win these, but, man, they wouldn't even have to be in this position if they could get to a quicker start.
All right, that's a good one. Rob, what do you have for us?
I'm going to go with variety of ways. And what I mean by that is this team has proven this season that they can win in many different ways. They can win in routes. They can win in close games. They had a shootout win in Brazil against Green Bay. They have a game like tonight where the defense has to keep them in it until they could, they win through the pass game. They win through the run game. They have just shown the ability to find ways to win in any situation that comes up. And I think that is a great quality, a great trait for a team to have, that it has Super Bowl aspirations. So I'll go variety of ways today.
All right. Variety of ways. I like it. I'm just going to keep it simple and go with defense is fun. Defense is fun. I'm a guy that I cut my teeth on offensive all 22 stuff and defense. I always watch the defensive film first when I go back and watch it because it's so much harder for me to watch and to get through, and it takes me longer and it's more work and I just don't enjoy it as much. And this year that started to change a little bit because this defense is just so much fun to watch and to see the things that Fangio's doing, the way he's putting these players in position to succeed and the way so many of these young guys all over the roster are stepping up. So this defense is a lot of fun to watch. And I can't remember saying that about Eagles football anytime recently, at least. So defense is a lot of fun to watch. So I'll go however I said that in 3 words. I don't even remember now.
Defense
all
is
right.
fun.
Do what?
Defense is fun. I think that's
defense is fun. There it was. So, all right. Well, I think that is going to about wrap it up here for our post-game show. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I like this one here. I got to throw up on the screen. Rams, you're next. And we got a week and a half to get ready for it. But before we get out of here, I'll throw it around the horn and give you guys a chance for any final thoughts, anything you thought of you didn't get to say. Rob, I'll throw it to you first, man.
Listen, an NFC East game is never, back in the day, they were never pretty when the top 2 teams were playing. But this game, for whatever reason, I'm not sitting here going, that was an ugly win. I'm thrilled with how this game turned out. I'm thrilled that this team stuck to the ground game. The defense was incredible from the jump outside of one drive. It's a great win. I love it. I love having the mini bye right now since they did have that early bye. It looks like you're getting healthier. So let's just keep this thing rolling, man. But it's been a lot of fun, and tonight was no different.
Absolutely. You guys be sure you are following Rob on Twitter at Philly_madness. David, what do you got? Final thoughts, plugs, the floor is yours.
I echo everything Rob said. I mean, the Eagles are at 8-2. They're in sole possession of the NFC East. They fly out to play the Rams out in LA. That is the last flight they will be taking during the regular season. Every other trip will just be a little bus ride from here on out or a home game. So, I mean, everything's aligning for them to make a deep playoff run. Like you said, the extra rest from this little mini bye, go out there, go to LA, and then come back home and be on the East Coast until playoff time if they have to go somewhere outside of Philly.
Absolutely. The NFC East runs through Philly. The 1 seed doesn't quite run through Philly. Needs some help from the Lions losing. Maybe some more of those Jared Goff 5 interception games, but lose this time. But yeah, for sure. You guys be sure you're following David as well at PHL Eagle News. I'm looking forward to chopping it up with David on Birds of the Round Table. I've been so hit or miss for the last 2 months with my son's fall ball schedule, and that's done now. But for my final thoughts, I'll just say, the Eagles get a home game on the road in Los Angeles in a week and a half, because we know that stadium is going to be 75% Eagles fans.
Yep.
Go take care of business at the Rams. And then you have a huge matchup December 1st against the Baltimore Ravens. And my bold prediction on my season preview show with BLG and Johnny was that the Eagles would start the season 2-2, and everybody would be panicking at their bye, and they would go undefeated until the Ravens game. And that is very much still in play.
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't just jinx it. But let's go beat the Ravens so I can put that clip, or let's go beat the Rams so I can put that clip out on Twitter in a week and a half. Thank you guys all for joining us for Postgame Live. We promise we will actually, that next game is also a night game, so we might not be able to drag Dibes' old man out of bed for that one either. You guys might be stuck with me, but we'll work on those hosting skills between now and then. Be sure you're checking out all the great content on the Eagles Pinpool Podcast Network. Wherever you get your podcast, it's there. There's going to be a lot of shows coming your way. The Kelly Green Hour does great breakdowns and review shows. Birds of the Round Table, as always. The Armchair Scouts will be firing back up. Chalk Talk. You get my film show with Johnny Page. You get Eye on the Enemy. You get Phil's every weekday morning check down. There's lots of great content. Even though it's a week and a half till the next game, the channel is going to be packed full of stuff. So make sure you're following it there. We'll catch you guys a week from Sunday. It's so weird to say that. We'll catch you a week from Sunday celebrating another Eagles victory. Till then, go Birds.